Welcome to the Sheffield As Bill Sees It meeting. This is a main share meeting, and today it is with great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Beth E. from New Jersey, who's come to share for about 40 minutes, after which we'll open up for general sharing or if you'd like to ask a question. Thank you, Beth. It's wonderful to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Beth, and I am an alcoholic. So giving my statistics first, the sobriety date that's God-given is August 1st of 2017. I have a home group. It's By the Book in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. I have a sponsor. I sponsor other women for the love of AA. Sometimes you really bug me, which is why I have a service sponsor, because I want AA to exist long after I'm gone for all the unborn children that are out there that may suffer from alcoholism. Okay, so I chose this passage because it's so much of what it was like for me. I was seeking outside things to fix an inside problem, right? If I made more money, and if the boss treated me right, and if I had the white picket fence and the beautiful Jeep in the driveway, and if ... then I could be happy. I come into Alcoholics Anonymous and I think that my problem is drinking. But my problem is that I can't stay stopped, that I have to have a spiritual awakening as a result of taking these steps, not as a result of sitting in meetings and hoping that I'm going to get this thing by osmosis because your spirituality, Andy, is going to rub off on me and hopefully I'll get it. It doesn't work that way. And I couldn't tell you how it actually works, right? I sit there and I look at the 12 steps when you say, get a sponsor, work these 12 steps. I'm such an intellectual, self-reliant person. I like to conceptualize things, and anything that I can't really figure out in my head how it's going to work, this is how I've lived my life. I'm not going to do it. Because if it doesn't make sense to me, why do it? But then I sit in meetings, I get a sponsor, I open this book, and I begin to understand that I need to have a spiritual awakening, a transformation. Ideas, attitudes, and emotions, which were once the guiding force, they need to get cast aside. Now, I've been trying to cast these things aside for years. I've been going to therapy because I think you're the problem, right? I've been watching Dr. Phil and finding lots of spiritual literature out there, hoping to change me. But none of that stuff ever worked. And then I come into Alcoholics Anonymous and I just want to not drink with consequences. But I find out that I have a much bigger problem than alcohol, and our big book says that bottles were just a symptom. And I love how Bill does things in our book, right? He has to tell us things 3 different ways, right? Because I'm an alcoholic that's always looking for a loophole in these things. And it doesn't really feel comfortable for me. And I don't like being uncomfortable. So I chose this passage in the As Bill Sees It because it comes from our 12 and 12 in the 7th step. Now, I don't speak for AA. This is just my opinion, and I don't give very many opinions as much as I can because opinions can be debated, but my experience cannot. So hopefully I'm going to tie in some of my experience today, God willing. I say a prayer, and I actually say the 7-step prayer before I get up and speak anywhere because I want God to remove enough of me, because I got agendas, I got motives, so that God can be present and speak through me. I didn't know that pretty much everything when I open the first page of the book and begin reading with my sponsor, all the way up into the 7-step prayer, is perhaps a step 6, where I'm becoming entirely willing, where I'm finding out what I cling to, where I hopefully, when I come out of 4 and 5, with more awareness that I can find these things objectionable. And so I do this 4th and this 5th step. And of course, I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be this self-pity person. I don't want to be angry. But there's nothing I can do about it to change me. If I could work on my character defects, I would not be sitting here with you today. So anybody out there, when my sponsees say to me, I'm working on my character defects, I'm like, oh my God, no, please stop. Don't work on character defects. That's not what the book says. And so what I learn in Alcoholics Anonymous is that I have a problem. I have an identification with the world where the ego gets tied up. And when I say ego, I'm also using the word ego for bondage of self that we talk about. The bondage of self and the third step, the stuff that I get all caught up in and tight over this world. Because I got a bunch of rules on how everybody else should be. Not all shoulds are bad. I shouldn't park in a handicapped spot, right? But I gotta look at these old ideas and beliefs. The result was nil until we let go absolutely. And a solid self-appraisal, because I've done a lot of them before, is not enough. So I've got this ego that's pretty tied up in this world. I need, something's missing. Out there is going to fix me. But what I learn in 4 and 5 is that I have a fairly predictable pattern of thinking that I typically respond to and act on. And it's never really been good for me. And so I have to look at these things to find out what they are. The book talks about the nature of our defects of character. Now, I don't like to call myself the defective character or anything like that. The truth about me is that deep down inside is the fundamental idea of God. That means the truth about me, and we say this in society, the truth will set you free. See, when I have that spiritual awakening, I'm not so identified with this body and these egoic things. I need, something's missing. The truth becomes more prevalent as a result of a spiritual awakening that I am the glorious words in the St. Francis prayer. I am love. I am hope. I am understanding. I am comfort. But see, I get caught up because I'm still human in the other stuff, the opposites that we read in the St. Francis prayer. And I forget who God made me truly to be. And we're supposed to be both angel and beast, right? If God made me unhuman, I would have no reason to seek God. But I'm going to give you some examples of how 6 and 7 have come up in my life in reality, because I like to discuss what goes on with me. I lost my job. In September. It was a very morally and ethically wrong way it was handled. And I can get caught up in the worldly things of you're wrong, because to conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got, as our 4-step says. And I just like to, the only mistake that a God made in me is that my eyes look outwards at you. And what AA does is it turns my eyes back inwards at me. And so I begin to tell myself all really scary movie that I know I'm losing my job and how dare they're going to make me work for another month, instead of seeing the gratitude that I'm still getting a paycheck for another month. Oh, they're so wrong. See, if you paid me for being a victim, even in sobriety, I'd be a billionaire by now. I'm always complaining and objecting to reality and taking your inventory, because alcoholism isn't about the bottles. It's about what goes on up here, the nature of stuff. My life gets unmanageable very quickly when I am in bondage of self, ego identification. And what I want to learn to live in is have a spiritual awakening, but try to keep that spirit awakening on a daily basis, because I can't stay full from yesterday's food. And so I have to do certain things in this program in order to keep an awakened spirit. It's not I'm one and I'm done because I've taken all 12 steps. What ends up happening is I have these character defects that I come to realize coming out of 4 and 5, and I get a great awareness. But then I think, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to say the 7-step prayer, and things are going to roll right off my back. But that's not what ends up happening. I end up going to the job. Somebody looks at me wrong. I can't stand her. I go to my home group. She shares for a little too long. So-and-so's got too many opinions at the business meeting, going on and on and on. And this mind, this alcoholic mind, is judgmental, negative. It beats the crap out of me, and then it's going to turn that weapon on you, because the golden rule is I do to myself what I do to others, which is why I have to go through this program and have a spiritual transformation. I can't give away what I don't have. If I don't have love, compassion, and gentleness towards myself, I'm never going to have it on you. I'm just not. And I found that to be true in my life. So I lose my job, I'm taking their inventory, and I'm attached to material things. Is God going to take care of me? I'm not going to get the next job. I've only been here for 8 months. I know, because I don't have any humility, that they're going to take my resumes when I apply for the next job, and they're going to take half the stack and toss them. And if my resume happens to be in the bottom half of the stack that they're going to look at, they're going to see 8 months, and they're just going to toss it aside. Because I know, because I'm God. But I'm not. I know nothing is the definition of humility. There's a story in one of the books that I read, and I absolutely love it because I try to remind myself, because I have spiritual amnesia. There's a really great spiritual guru in Japan. Everybody in town respects him. They all go to him for advice and to get spiritually connected. And one day the neighbors came over. They had a young daughter, and the daughter was knocked up, and she said, it was the guy next door, the spiritual guru of the town, that knocked me up. And the parents were pissed off. And they went over to him and they said, you knocked up our daughter. How dare you? And what he responded with is that so? And 9 months later, when that child was born, they went back to him. They said, here you go. Here's your son. This is your problem. You raise this child. And he took that child and he said, is that so? And about 3 months later, the daughter starts feeling a little guilt and finally admits to the parents that it wasn't the spiritual guru after his reputation had been ruined in town. And she said, it's the guy down the street. And they went back over to him. They said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that we did that to you. And we want to take our child back and raise it. And he said, is that so? See, I'm always objecting to reality. And then I complain and I play the victim of reality because I never want to accept reality as it's manifesting. I love objecting to it. And reality only wins 100% of the time. But when I'm fighting reality, I'm the one that suffers. Nobody else does. And that's the insanity of what alcoholism is. And so I don't know what's going to happen with this job. And I have to come from that place of humility. See, God has never dropped me before, but I've got to have the awareness that where I'm going to default to, because the defects of character are where I default to because they're familiar. They're familiar, and ego says that they're comfortable. They're actually not comfortable, but I'd rather go to what's familiar to me because why? I'm an alcoholic. I love a little bit of the insanity. And I forget, again, because I have spiritual amnesia, the isms. Sometimes we say I, self, and me. Incredibly short memory. I have an incredibly short memory of what God does for me, which is why I stay here with you today, which is why I practice 10 and 11 and 12 on a daily discipline so that I don't get too far away from God. But the 6 and 7, so everything that I do, all that 6-step prayer, is about giving me the awareness of where I default to with what's familiar, that I like going back to what's familiar because I love sitting in the muck. There's just something about it. It's like that black hole of self-pity is always next to me. And I used to jump in full body. Now I stick my finger in it and I pull it out most of the time because I'm like, I don't want to go there as often or as long as I used to. That's the gift that I get, but I'm still perfectly human and I still suffer from character defects or defenses or defaults. So with this job, I know they're going to take 8 months and shove it in the trash can. See, I'm often relying on my own judgment. I rely on my own judgment of myself and of others, and that's insane. So I ended up getting a new job, which is great. I boomeranged back to a company beforehand because I showed up at that last job for 4 years before I took that 8-month stint where I got let go, showing up as God would have me be, making a demonstration, remembering that God is my employer. And I had some tough people to deal with. Bad Brad and conniving Connie really bugged me. But it's just what bugged me was my own character defects and the fact that I didn't like the feelings that I got when dealing with them. Now, feelings aren't facts. They're not going to kill me. And so many of our great spiritual teachers, no matter who you follow or who your God is, teaches us that feelings are too narcissistic and immature to get a vote. And they're not always real, and they're very temporary. They're like the weather. Feelings change like the weather. I don't feel like going to a meeting. All of a sudden, I show up at a meeting because I take the right actions instead of listening to how I feel. And I feel amazing and wonderful being around you because my feelings change, which is what I learned in AA, despite how I feel. Because I was always walking around, I feel, I don't feel. Or you make me feel, which no one has the power to make me feel that way. I was spiritually immature. And I didn't know it because I surrounded myself with people just like me. So I didn't know that as a result of a spiritual awakening that I could have a God that's bigger than my feelings. But what I'm really up against is not the bottles, not the outside stuff, what I want, I need, something's missing, and my judgment of myself and others. I get this new job and I boomerang back to the career that I had 4 years before this, where who would have thought God would take care of me? Because I was crying about, oh my God, I left this great job and followed somebody else to this crappy place for 8 months and I got let go. I should have never left that career. I had a budding career. So now it should be amazing and wonderful. I'm back at the company that I loved, whose values actually align to mine. But I'm an alcoholic. And so now I've got this new job and I'm totally uncomfortable because it's challenging. I'm on a different client now. And so they give me a project and I get fearful, squirmy, and afraid because I want to be perfect. And I want all the stars to align. I want to look amazing. I want to be respected. And I find out that I can't do this project for the client. So when we talk about Bill's reading here, I'm seeking outside stuff. I'm seeking your approval. I'm seeking you to make me feel okay about me because it's all about how I feel. I feel amazing. You need to make me feel good. Then I won't ever get mad. And I lose that reliance upon God and I throw all out the spiritual principles out the window because I just want to be fearful, squirmy, and afraid. I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to do a job. I have a mind that is constantly doing me in, even at 8 years, but less often than it used to. And that's the gift that I get in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's almost like I have to remember that this is physical exercise we're doing here, right? I go to the gym, I got a flabby bicep, right? I'm the type of alcoholic, I want to go for the gym for 3 days and I want to look sexy and have a buff bicep. Doesn't work that way, does it? I got to go for a long time to build that muscle, just like a long time to build that spiritual muscle. When I build that spiritual muscle by practicing the fruits of the Spirit, then I get results, but they don't come right away in the way I want them to and right here, right now, because I am an immediate gratification person and I need it now, not yesterday or not 2 days from now. So I look at this stuff. I never grew from being comfortable. I don't grow from just lifting a little 2-pound weight and that's all I'm going to do at the gym. I build muscle not by doing the easy stuff, right? I could go out and sweep my back deck all day long. It's not mentally stimulating. It's not challenging for me. Ego says, I want to be comfortable all the time and I want to feel amazing and I want to feel good. So I'm not going to do the hard stuff. But the Spirit knows that I grow from challenges, not from comfort. And I think I like to run from the discomfort of things because let's not grow, Beth. Let's find ways to be comfortable, the ego says. The gift that I get in Alcoholics Anonymous is that I learned that ego's voice, that negative, judgmental, they should change, you don't have to change. That I get to put myself up against hard things and realize that God's never going to drop me. But see, now I have this imposter syndrome of this job and this project that they've given me and this old voice, these old ideas and beliefs. See, underneath these character defects, I once heard a great speaker say that a character defect is a resentment of who you think you are. And I went, the truth about me that I never knew before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't even know in my first 4-step. My first 4-step was like, yeah, I'm judgmental. Yeah, I'm impatient. Yeah, I take things personally. But as I peel the onion back throughout the years, I learned that underneath this stuff are these things that I'm not enough, that I'm not going to be taken care of by God, that I'm not respected enough, that I'm not smart enough, that I'm not lovable, that I'm not valued, blah, 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 blah. And then when I believe these things, I must become something other than I am to try to get what I want. And then I unleash all these defects of character on you. Because I think outside things are going to fix an inside problem. So I'm going to read a quick inventory to you. Before I was let go, I had a little problem at work. I don't know if you suffer from what I suffer from, but I got a story that tells me how everybody else sucks sometimes. Yeah. And still do at 8 years sober. But I get the choice to write inventory. So there's Alicia at work that I do a lot of work for, and we have a generally good relationship. I never thought we had a problem. And she asked me to do a project for her one day, and she's kind of put in some black and white stuff that I absolutely can do. And then there's some gray area that I'm not really sure. So I set up a meeting with Alicia to figure out how to fill in those gray areas so that I can handle a project, because God has given me good work ethic and good talents, and I want to be able to use those rightly today. See, I know what God has done for me most of the time, but I forget this stuff. Well, I go into her office and I ask her to clarify a few things, and what she does is she gives me a second helping of condescension about how I should know these things, and she wasn't very pleasant to me. And so I'm going to default into what's familiar with me, because I'm still a human even though I'm an alcoholic. Which is why I have an opportunity to write what we call a 10-step or a limited, it's a 4-step, but it's a 10-step. As I go through my day and these things crop up and I feel that dis-ease of the disease. Restless, irritable, discontent. I am now pissed off. You're not hitting your mark. How dare you, Alicia? And I look at these 7 areas of self, what I call where I play God, where I'm demanding things out of you or this world or out of myself to get what I want to feel okay. And so self-esteem, this is how I see or feel about myself. I never knew that I had low self-esteem. I've been wearing a mask. I want to look amazing and wonderful, and definitely spiritual when I'm on a meeting. But I'm about to tell you the crap that goes through my head and tell you I'm still human. So self-esteem is how I feel about myself. Well, I'm someone who works hard and tries to get it right. Well, if I'm really secure in that, and I did my best, because that's all God asked me to do, is to do my best. And I asked for help, right? That's all in my ownership. There's nothing else there. If I did that, then I would be okay with however she reacted to me. But I'm not, because I'm an alcoholic and I'm fearful, squirmy, and afraid. And I need her approval. I need to get my security from her. And I don't know that when I'm in it, because I like to default to anger. She's the problem. That BI, she didn't hit her mark. How dare she? I'm trying to do a good job. Like, this is where I go to. I'm now the victim of Alicia. But I look, and underneath that is I'm really afraid that I'm not enough. There's what I talked about. A defective character is often a resentment of who I think I am. I think that I'm not enough. I think that I'm not respected, because I'm looking for everybody else out here to fill the hole in the donut. I don't need Alicia's respect or Alicia to be the arbiter of my value and tell me that I'm enough. But in that moment, I'm looking for it because I'm human. The gift that I get in Alcoholics Anonymous is the awareness of this stuff. So I see, okay, it's I'm not enough, I'm not respected. I don't see it, like I said, when I'm in it until I write it down. Pride, how others should see me or feel about me. Well, others should see I'm trying, right? I'm trying to do a good job. I know God gave me talents and work ethic to do, but I'm fearful and afraid that I'm misunderstood. Again, not respected. She's not hitting her mark telling me, oh, Beth, you are a good worker. I know you were trying to do a good job. Ambition, what I want to happen here, because again, I need, something's missing. You need to hit your mark to make me feel okay, because everything's about me, 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 me. That's the selfish self-centeredness, the root of our troubles. Make me feel okay, we're good, don't hit your mark. I'm mad. So I want her to set me up for success. Well, how dare she? Now I've made myself a victim again, and I'm just going to complain about Alicia. But really what I'm afraid of is that I feel unsupported and small. Again, not enough. Old ideas and beliefs. The result was nil until we let go. Absolutely. Security, right? We talked about that in what we read. What I need to be okay, because I always need something from everybody else to make me feel okay. Because again, it's all about me. I don't care about you. I don't care if you're having a bad day. I don't care if you're just a ruthless, horrible person. You need to act right. That's insane. I don't have that kind of power over you, but I've been running around my entire life giving other people more power over my mind and my emotions than I have. Here you go, Ann. If you're not shaking your head and agreeing with me and telling me how wonderful I am while I talk, I'm going to place all my security in Anne doesn't like me. I'm going to tell myself a story based on 10% of the facts. She's not nodding her head. She's not smiling at me, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is. And I'm going to write 90% of the story. Anne doesn't like me. Well, I know Anne likes me, but still. That's the way my mind works, and it's insane. Again, is that so? I know nothing. I'm not getting what I want. Can I be okay with that? Am I looking for outside things, outside people to be the arbiter of my value? So, I need clear and helpful communication. She's not hitting her mark. That's what I want. That's what I need to make me feel good about me. And the fear behind that is that I feel alone. I feel unsafe because I'm not being told I'm amazing, wonderful, and talented and that I did try to do a good job. She's not seeing that. Personal relationships, these are deep-seated beliefs about how others should be. Well, coworkers should guide, not shame. Have I ever shamed people? Absolutely. But I ain't going to let you off the hook. Why? Because I do to others what I do to myself. If I'm unforgiving of me and my mistakes, I'm not going to be forgiving of you and your mistakes because you should be different. See, I have to learn, have a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. A spiritual awakening is allowing to God to revolutionary change my thoughts. Not Beth. Because I can't do that on my own. I can't get to the nature of this stuff. Listen, I can go to my home group and I can practice love and tolerance when you really bug me. But underneath that, I'm going to pat myself on the back. But underneath that is the nature of these things. I'm not going to change the nature that I was still, in my head. That's the stuff that I want to get to because the transformation of the heart. What God does in this program isn't just teaching me to act right, but He revolutionary changes my heart. A spiritual awakening changes me. Not just how I act. I can act right in lots of situations today, but the way I feel doesn't mean that I like it. I want God to be able to change those things in me so that I can be more loving, more forgiving. But I don't like to forgive because, like I said, I don't forgive myself and let myself off the hook. I ain't going to let you off the hook. But there's a certain amount of self-righteousness in you. I can hold on to that lack of forgiveness that you're so wrong, right? Our first bedevilment, my life is unmanageable, having trouble with personal relationships. I don't have relationships. I have reactionships. I don't want to let you off the hook because I feel smugly superior and I can have the right to hold on to that resentment and that unforgiveness and just think about how wrong you were because it's selfish and it's self-centered. Because I'm not going to believe what God thinks about me and I'm not going to believe what God thinks about you. Because if I don't believe what God thinks about me, I'm never going to let you off the hook because I'm going to forget God thinks wonderful things about me. He thinks wonderful things about you. And you are perfectly human like me. They like ourselves, the sick man's prayer says. They like me are perhaps spiritually sick. And my spirituality ebbs and flows. You see me on the road, ask my husband how many times I give amends. I am still perfectly human. So I become aware of what's coming up for me. Sex relationships. These are deep-seated beliefs about how a real man, a real woman should be. I got tons of these old ideas and beliefs. A real woman is helpful, not hurtful. Well, the fear is that if you're hurtful to me, that I'm rejected and I'm alone. Because again, I think outside things, material things, getting you to act right is going to make me whole and make me feel okay. Pocketbook. No one should ever doubt my value. Well, the fear is that I'm unsupported and small. Or that I'm replaceable. See, I depend on this thing and I can't see the fears behind this stuff because I just like to flip right to anger and playing the victim to you. You're so wrong. Instead of self-examination and see that these old ideas and beliefs that I'm relying on everybody else to make me feel okay, humans are fallible. And that the only place that I can feel whole and the only place that I need love, respect, adoration, and enoughness is from a God of my understanding today. But I still look for it outside myself sometimes because I'm human. But I get more awareness and I don't stay there for as long as and as often when I write inventory and I get real clear on the problem is me, that I'm making demands on you to be someone that you're not, that I'm seeking my material, my security, everything outside of me instead of seeking that from God. And so I look self-seeking. Why? I let her tone define my worth. Again, Alicia, here you go. You can have all the power over my mind and my emotions that I have. I'm going to let you be the arbiter of my value today, Alicia. I'm going to believe everything you think about me instead of believing what God thinks about me. Selfish. Well, I want her to change so I don't feel so bad about me. Well, good luck, right? I say the serenity prayer. It's not something I mutter underneath my breath in the morning. What can't I change? And have a good think about that, Beth. I'm not going to change her. I'm not going to change what just happened. Matter of fact, I'm not going to change how I feel about it either. The nature. See, I wanted validation, and instead I got a second helping of condescension. The ego, bondage to self, got bruised, as it does quite often in this world. But it says nothing about who I am. Remember, the truth will set you free. When we talk about values in Bill's reading, I have to get down to the spiritual values that God has given me and remember who God made me to be. When I become aware of what's coming up, I don't want the ego to hijack it and use it as another reason to beat the crap out of myself. I should be more spiritual by now. I know better. I know I shouldn't think that way. I know I shouldn't feel that way. The 7-step prayer says, remove every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness. I'm not here to judge, good or bad, what's going to be useful. That's God's decision. I'm not here to say, I'm going to work on me and I want this character defect gone, so I'm just going to pray, God, remove this from me all the time. There are some defects or defaults that God thinks are quite useful. And that's the gift. That it keeps me relying upon God. That it makes me relatable to other people. See, if I sat here and told you, if Anne said something to me, I'll be like, oh, Anne, that character defect, I haven't felt that way in years. You better get over it. Instead, it's like, I know what you mean, Anne. I deal with that stuff too. Ask God to help me let go of my judgment of my character defects. I'm ready for you to have all of me, good and bad. It's not about creating a more likable version of myself so that I can like me better. I don't know how God is going to use these things, good or bad, but I know it makes me very relatable to sponsees. I know it makes me human in your eyes. See, I was walking around going, I can't stop these thoughts. Well, stop resisting. See, I don't like the discomfort. It's dark and it seems scary, but it's more scary running from these things. We've heard about doing spiritual battle. When people battle each other, their wounds are in the front. You don't see wounds in the back because they're running away from everything. I face it. I don't believe God wants us to suffer, but I know today that it's never wasted. I grow through the discomfort. I don't grow from being comfortable. I grow best during hardships, the job. See, what the 7th step really says is I ask God to let go of my judgment about my character defects and allow God to decide what, when, and how he's going to use them or take them from me. That's why I say I don't work on my character defects, but a gift I get is the awareness of where I default to. The gift that I get is self-examination to see that with Alicia, I'm not enough, I'm not respected, I'm incompetent, that I'm seeking outside things to fill that hole again. That I get a different set of motivations that begin to dominate me, that I'm no longer putting out these fear-based fires all the time, that I'm not acting in ways that I end up regretting later, that there's always going to be that darkness. And I love searching out the darkness. That may never change. But I don't stay there, and I get to illuminate every twist of character and bring it into the light. And I get to make amends for the things that I do. And that ego isn't all bad. But I can use it wrongly or I can use it rightly. So I get to build a relationship with God today where I'm not seeking this outside stuff, the material goods, the security, the prestige, the romance, where I allow God to show up. God, whatever your will is for me today, help me find my next footstep. In the 12 and 12, it says, as long as we place self-reliance first, I need something's missing and I'm going to go chasing it. A genuine reliance upon a higher power was out of the question. Here's the definition of humility. The basic ingredient of all humility, a desire to seek and do God's will. That's my true purpose. Do I do it perfectly? No. Do I make a lot of mistakes? Yes. Are there gifts in making the mistakes? Absolutely. Where I trip is where my treasure is. But today I want to make sure that I do my best, which I'm not going to do it perfectly. God loves me as I am, not as I should be. So that I can show up and I can be useful to God's kids. And I'll end with this story. I told one story yesterday. It's been a while since I told this one. I'm walking the dog poops. I go to pick it up with a poop bag. My finger goes through the poop bag. I got dog poop on my finger. I'm pretty upset. I never throw it in anybody's trash can because I know what happens when they do it to mine in the summer. It sticks to the bottom. You're not going to get it out till winter when things freeze. And I don't like it. I'm such a great neighbor. I'm not going to do that to you. There's a little self-righteousness, right? I'm better than. But on this day, I throw it in somebody's trash can because I just want to get home. And somebody sees me do it. And she gets out of her car screaming at me. And she's on the phone with her friend, telling her friend how she's chewing me out and how wrong I am while she's proceeding to tell me off. You're not hitting your mark, security. Telling me I'm wonderful and amazing. You're not built. If I think I'm such a wonderful person, then you wouldn't bug me if I truly believe what God believes about me. Then I just made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes in this world because I will. That's reality, not objecting to it. So I feel that emotional rise. That ego, the bondage of self, that trilogy, whenever I'm acting from the bondage of self, fear, anger, or guilt, whenever I react from fear, anger, or guilt, I create more fear, anger, or guilt. My little snow globe's off the charts. I want to unleash something on you. Don't you know what just happened to me? Me. And instead I'm given the gift that I know when I'm in fear, anger, or guilt, and my little snow globe's all over the place, do nothing. Nothing good's going to come out of her mouth. There's a big book that says pause when agitated or doubtful. Zip it, Beth. And I let her say the things that she needs to say to me, and it's uncomfortable. Who am I not to be okay? 7-step prayer doesn't say, remove every single defective character so that I like myself more. I'm just going to become entirely willing in this moment. Sometimes God has a use for this stuff, and I've learned that God's used this stuff to make me uncomfortable so that I realize I don't have to say everything that I think, that I have been given the power to zip it. And in that moment, I zip it, and she has her way, and I got thoughts, I got craziness going on in my head. I asked her, would you like me to go get it out of the trash can? And what she said is, no, that's not even my trash can. And believe me, my head went ballistic. Not even your frickin' trash can? You're making a big deal. Are you kidding me? It's okay. I don't want to resist that I still have these thoughts. I should be more spiritual by now, and I work a program. How about accept that I am perfectly human and God loves me and made me as I am? And that I'm never going to get rid of this stuff because God doesn't just get rid of them. The gift is that I get this stuff, and I know today that I don't want to react on it. The gift is the knowledge, the awareness that that's not how God would have me be, saying, well, if that's not even your trash can, what are you, a garbage man? Because I'm going to be sarcastic next if I allow things to come out of my mouth. Fear, anger, and guilt, snow globe. All I said to her was, have a nice day. Now that's a gift and a miracle, because I'm keying your car 3 days later. That's me on my own power. See, the gift that I get is I'm walking by her house a few months later on a really windy day, and there's White Claws blown all over the place. Our home group is around the corner. If she shows up at that home group, I don't have to look the other way. That doesn't mean I'm not at peace with myself my entire walk home. But I find that I'm at peace with myself because I'm sitting on my couch and I'm not replaying that woulda, coulda, shoulda over and over and over again. That 3 minutes of discomfort of not saying anything is not going to kill me. And I did God's will, and that's the gift that I get, is that I'm not seeking outside things, material, prestige, romance, you to make me feel okay about me anymore, or less often. Thanks for listening to me.